Hello, so in this video I want to talk about bends, how to achieve bend effects in After Effects. The first and most straightforward way is, to create, in a situation where there's a hierarchy, like this chain here, we can create a bend just by controlling where the pivots are and what is a child of what. So if we zoom in on this here, and I hit A, I can shift where the pivot point is to reflect, where I want this to rotate from, right? And then I can take each link, right, and make them each a child of the one above it. So okay. This is the top link. I want this to be the top of the hierarchy, but it's at the bottom of the stack. So one little trick is you can cut your layers, and whatever order you cut them in, right, Command X, you can paste them, and that will control what the stack is. So it's a good trick to reverse the order of your layers. Okay, so now this one's on the top. I'm going to make that a child of that, that a child of that, that child of this. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, then I'm going to grab all these, hit R, and now I can animate the rotation and get this bend effect. Now, maybe a slightly more elegant way to do this would be to have a controller. So we're going to do new null object. We're going to go over to our effects and presets, type in slider control, put it on this null here. And then what I can do is, if I hit U, what I can do now is grab this rotation and connect it to the slider, which creates a little expression. We don't need to really worry about that yet. It's just you're basically connecting one value to another. All right, so I'm going to grab this slider. Okay, so now I can just have one number that's controlling the whole chain, right? Another thing I could do, which would be maybe even better, is I can go to my Window Essential Graphics panel, select my current composition, and drag my slider control up here. That way, if I have a new comp, I can bring my chain link in, and I'll have a controller for it, right? So I have a little chain rig I can use upstream. Which is really handy. All right, so it's called After Effects. So there's a lot of effects that we can do to our imagery, and there's an effects and preset panel over here. There's also the same group of things over there, and usually what I do when I'm looking for something is I just go over here and I start typing bend. All right, and we got CC bend it. All right, and I'm going to drop it on here. Cool. Okay. So let's see what we got here. We got the amount of bend, which does that. That's not quite what we're looking for. We have the start of the bend and the end of the bend. So let's fix that first. If I grab this, I'm going to put one controller at the start of my rope element and another at the end. Now when I bend, it's looking a little bit more predictable. But if we see here, it's getting cut off at the spot here. Why is that? So if I go over here, I actually have a mask on this. And if I can say none, turn this effect off for a second. I'll turn off background. That's my original element, right? That I just grabbed from the internet there. So I made a mask on it because I didn't want to see this Getty image stuff. But when I apply the effect, it's only going to be to the pixel bounds of the original object. So what I need is another effect called grow bounds. I'm going to put that on the top. And now what I can do is basically just give pixel space around my original image. So now I can bend it all the way to there, and then it gets cut off. I don't really know a workaround to that, but you can do a lot. What if we wanted to just have the end of this bend? That's where that start and end thing kind of comes in handy. So I'm gonna grab the start. Here we go. And if we see, what it's doing is it's kind of continuing down the end, but we actually have these other controls here. So I can go extended and static, and what that'll do is that'll just let me kind of control the end of the effect. All right, so there's a lot of possibilities here actually for your bends. Let's look at a few other ways. So let's just get rid of this for a second, and let's draw a shape. And for this shape, I'm going to turn on Roto Bezier, which is basically lets me draw paths without handles. I'm going to just make 3 points. And we'll make it no fill with a blue stroke. Okay. So in the shape, if I go UU, there's actually a path here. And so I could, if I wanted to, go in with my direct select tool and animate the path itself. So I'm going to double click on this. And now see, I can basically tween this underlying path, right? And get a bend that way, right? Or if I wanted to do the ends, I could do this. And then finally, if we go back to that rope example again, so I'll start from scratch, right? I got my rope. I'm going to put it in a new comp. I'm going to make this 1920 by 1080. And we'll make it a little bigger. And I'll mask out the stuff I don't want. The next thing I can do is use a puppet tool. And if you go up here, there's these pins. And what these pins do is they kind of add like kind of constraints to a distortion mesh. We could actually like talk a lot about what this tool does. But in the most straightforward way, now that I have those 3 pins, and if I go UU, see there's these pins here, now I can grab these and animate them and effectively animate my work that way. Which is, really powerful, but there are these distortions that come in, and then there's like this meshing that it's doing, so it can be a little unwieldy, but it is an option, and maybe we can't do it with CC Bendit. We need something like this. And then there are also paid plugins. There's a plugin called Rubber Hose that lets you have a lot of powerful bend controls, but that's not free. Okay,